Kia ora koutou. Welcome everybody to today's webinar, which is Optimizing Traffic and Reducing Accidents with AI. We will be exploring how AI, coupled with emerging technologies, can tackle some of our most important transport challenges. Co-Simon McManus, Taku ingoa. My name is Simon McManus and I'm the Executive Officer of ITS New Zealand, that's Intelligent Transportation Systems New Zealand. We're the peak body for tech-enabled solutions to address transport challenges here in New Zealand. We're a member-based organisation with about 50 members, and we promote the development and adoption of tech-enabled transport solutions to improve transport outcomes such as efficiency, sustainability, equity, and safety. You can find out more about us at itsnz.org. There's a quick look at some of our members. We have some upcoming events coming up, which you can find out more about on our website. Just a quick note to say that we've just set the dates for our TTEC conference next year, July 8th to the 10th in Auckland. So moving on to today's webinar, we're joined by an exciting lineup of speakers. We have Professor Simon Washington, who's the CEO of Advanced Mobility Analytics Group. Simon will be joined very briefly by a special guest, Peter McIntyre from Transoft Solutions. Then we'll be followed by Kim Khan, who's Principal Traffic Engineer of Logan City Council in Queensland, Australia. And then Jacques Steyn, Senior Transportation Engineer of Urban Connection, New Zealand. And finally, Gemma Dioni, Principal Advisor, Transport for Safety in Christchurch City Council, New Zealand. So without further ado, let's get into our speakers for today. So I'd like to introduce Professor Simon Washington to kick off the presentations for today.
Good morning or afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're located. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you, Simon, for hosting and organizing this event. I'm pleased to sort of kick this event off, and I guess just as a general comment, I'm going to try to spend as little time talking and turn the focus on our amazing presenters that will talk about the case studies in the field. So the first announcement I'd like to share is that AMAG was recently acquired by Transoft Solutions, and this is when I say recently, this is in the last 2 weeks. So we're finding our feet within Transoft, and we're very excited about our journey going forward. It really won't change in many ways, in any substantive ways, how we're engaging with our customers, but just a brief background of Transoft Solutions. Has been in business for 30 years, have about 50,000 users globally using their software products, and 13 offices around the globe. So we're really, really excited about this opportunity to work with Transoft and work within Transoft, and deliver our products through this new company. Just a real brief overview of Transoft. There's three divisions of Transoft: aviation division, the civil and transportation division, and safety and traffic operations. So AMAG essentially is become the heart and soul of the safety and traffic operations unit within Transoft, and we'll be delivering our products in addition to other products that sit in that envelope. So introducing the topic of the day, I'm just going to spend very small amount of time introducing a couple of things about video analytics, and then I'm going to turn it over to our great speakers that we have lined up. The first thing I want to talk about is just sort of why customers are getting value out of video analytics, and really it's what is the video analytics value chain that our customers are telling us where they get value. And I guess just very quickly, we're taking video, LiDAR, and thermal camera information, processing it through an AI engine. The AI maturity is advancing all the time, and we're probably about 10 years in that as a profession in the journey of AI development. And it's at the maturity now where we can do a lot of things that add value for our customers. And I'll illustrate that very quickly. From the AI, everything starts there and it goes downstream when we can use that AI information to produce a lot of analytics that are useful for our customers. I think one of the key aspects for the value proposition for customers of video analytics is that our customers can get information and objective evidence to make decisions, to plan a network, to manage a network, to operate a network, in ways that they just can't get from other sensor technologies. And so what I show here, at Transoft, we have a couple of different products. We have a smart safety product, which is geared for safety managers doing capital improvements to manage their networks, identify high-risk locations, make informed decisions about improvements of those locations, evaluate the effectiveness of treatments at those locations, and those sorts of activities. On the operations side, we have continuous analytics that help our customers detect events that are happening in real time, influence the outcomes of those events, understand how frequently those events are happening, and things like that. So that's really the value proposition of video analytics. What we're essentially doing with our customers is complementing existing practice, which has been built around the focus on crashes and crash information, using deaths and injuries that have happened. So as a lagging indicator of safety performance to a leading indicator of safety performance. And those leading indicators are obtained by focusing on critical conflicts, and which have been shown now for over a decade of research, that if we measure things quite precisely and measure these critical conflicts in specific ways, it is the single best predictor of future crashes. And of course, using a leading indicator is a game changer for our customers, and you'll hear about that from some of the speakers today. So really quickly, it starts, as I said, it starts with AI, and we use the AI as a starting point, and all the industry as a whole uses the AI to classify road users, to undertake specific studies. This video actually shows a very specific focus for a customer on helmet use. And so, you can train the AI to detect whether a scooter user is wearing a helmet or not, and whether they're on a public or private scooter in this particular instance. But what's key to point out here is that we can see where these pedestrians are not in the crosswalk. We can see how fast they're walking. We can see where the scooter users are, or how fast the cars are going, whether road users are on a collision course with each other, and all kinds of things that you can't determine from other sensor types. So really what the AI, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, but the AI really, it is fairly complex, and there are lots of challenges to get AI right, and that's why it's still a maturing field. But and I want to talk through a lot of these challenges. Happy to answer questions later if there are any. But there are lots of technical issues that have to be resolved. For example, an AI mistaking a shadow of a person as another person, and detecting a masked arm as a person, and things like that. So there's those kinds of classification errors, as well as where exactly is a road user on the pavement. Are they in the center of the lane or the side of the lane, and those sorts of things. So we have to address all of those issues in the AI in order for the analytics to be robust downstream. So last couple of slides here. How do we translate the AI into analytics for our customer? Here is one example. I'll just walk through very quickly. What we use and what we rely on is this process. So if we go to a site and monitor the location, you can see a conflict that happened here. Sorry, it's a little bit small. But there's a conflict between two vehicles that we track in our technology. When we observe a site over time, what we get as a result is what we call heat maps, the sort of an indication of the frequency and density of where those conflicts are occurring. And that can be filtered by time of day, by type of road user, by movement direction, and all kinds of things to understand the risk profile at the site. And this is the same location. That heat map that we see was actually, we generated before this, and then we see a crash occur. And what we're really trying to use that heat map is to inform us about risk before we get the crashes on the right. But what we know from experience is that these heat maps are reliable predictors of future crashes. And that's exactly why we use this technology. And then my last slide before I turn it over to our first speaker is that, this is another example of continuous analytics where we're using the platform. For some reason, this video is not playing. But this is a site for a customer where the continuous video analytics, you can see the highlighted green vehicle. That vehicle proceeds in this video to make an illegal movement at this location. And the customer has told us that they struggle with any other way to identify that kind of movement, the frequency of how it happens, the circumstances under which those illegal movements happen. So that vehicle comes through and makes a left turn there, which is prohibited. There are 3 illegal movements at this location that the customer is using our video analytics to track and report back to them, send clips, and do essentially a set of eyes to observe how this site is performing and give them objective evidence to understand how to make improvements. So with that background, I'll turn it over to our speakers. I'm going to introduce Kin Khan, who is based in Logan, Australia, and has been using our platform to answer some very specific use cases. So Kin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Simon. Let me take control of the slide. Hello, everyone. My name is Kin Kan, and I'm with Logan City Council's Traffic Management Center, where I oversee traffic signal operation across the Logan area. Today, I'll be sharing the insight from a recent project that Council collaborated with AMAG. My presentation will be focusing on how we approach the implementation. Just a bit of background of this project. Back in 2023, Council received a grant funding from the Motor Accident Insurance Commission to conduct a safety assessment using AMAG's smart safety system. We select 4 locations in Logan area, 2 roundabouts and 2 signalized intersections. Simply because the crash data didn't show any clear trends in those locations as a crash types. This project had 2 main components, smart safety, which cover all 4 locations, and smart operations, focusing on 2 main locations. Smart safety used data from a temporary camera to analyze potential conflicts, while smart operation, on the other hand, require permanent camera setup to capture operational data. Just quickly go over each location briefly. The first location is the Old Chestwood Road roundabout. This roundabout is located near the motorway, shops, and primary school. We set up 4 temporary cameras here to capture any potential issues within the roundabout. The diagram shows how the angle of each camera is set up, which is kind of facing the roundabout to capture all the angle we can. The second location is the Paradise Road roundabout. This location is close to the first roundabout and a primary school. Again, we set up 4 cameras to capture all the angle. The next one is the Bryans Road and Grander Street signalized intersection. This is a 4-way intersection near a major shopping center. We focus our temporary camera on the slip lane to try to capture specific data on vehicle movement and the pedestrian movement within the intersections. The last one is the Grand Plaza Drive signalized intersection. This is a really busy intersection near a major bus station. What we're trying to focus here is to capture the data related to slip lane and pedestrian crossing. As Simon highlighted earlier, smart safety actually using advanced AI to analyze video footage. It identifies potential conflict by measuring time to collision and post-encroachment time on a frame-by-frame basis. For more technical calculation, I'm sure Simon happy to share that after the presentation. If you look at the top image in this slide, you will see a heat map generated by the Smart Safety platform. It actually pick up all potential conflict within a certain radius and display a heat map of traffic patterns and conflict area. This actually help us to identify high risk area in each location. The lower image are the screenshot of specific incidents. In this example, it shows a vehicle failed to give way to the circulating traffic inside the roundabout. The video clip from Smart Safety System is also really helpful for our engineer to understand the situation leading up to potential conflict. It also allows us to pinpoint any specific behavior that could causing near misses. Let me just quickly go through the heat map for other location. This is the second roundabout location. Again, we have a video footage for vehicle not giving way to circulating traffic. This is the third and fourth locations for the heat map. And this is the video footage for a last location, which we capture a red light running in this scenario. This is the quick summary of the finding for the Smart Safety. To summarize our findings, Smart Safety data highlights several key issues in those 4 locations. The first thing is the poor driving behavior at both roundabout and intersections. We also notice pedestrian non-compliance issue at some location, particularly at the traffic signal where some pedestrian choosing to jaywalk rather than waiting at the median. One interesting finding that we have with this project is we observed some unsafe e-scooter movement at the roundabout. I believe the e-scooter is a hot topic at the moment for many council. Building on the insight, we extend the project to include smart operation at 2 major locations for real-time monitoring. The first location is the Grander Street traffic signals. Here we install a CCTV camera on an extension pole, which attached to the signal pole, which help us to capture the real-time data. The second location we install the smart operation is the Old Chestwood Road roundabout. At this location is a challenging one because we're not able to tap into the nearby power supply. So we have to install a solar power camera. We have to work with our design team to create a unique solar panel setup that could run the camera and other equipment for 4 consecutive days, even in bad weather conditions. Also, due to the weight limit on the pole, we have to install the marine grade battery inside the pit. The last slide shows the interior of the CCTV cabinet and the overall setup. So if anyone is interested in the details of the solar panel and battery setup, please feel free to contact me after the presentation. I'm happy to share more. Now I've finished my presentation. I'll pass it on to the next presenter, Jacques.
Hey, sorry about that. Thanks, Kent. So almost every day on the way to dropping my kids off at school, I pass through an intersection. It always puts me on high alert. I often see things like harsh braking or people pulling in front of one another, rushing to beat the traffic. There haven't been any crashes there yet, but I often catch myself thinking, how long until someone gets hurt? It's especially concerning because around that same time, the streets are filled with school kids and the area gets quite chaotic. So how many of us have been in that situation? There may not have been any serious crashes, but something must be done, right? To both reduce the congestion and improve safety before someone is seriously hurt. But being in the industry, I understand the pressures of programs and budgets and that investment strategies need to be targeted over a wider area for the best outcomes. With more vehicles sharing the roadways with cyclists, pedestrians, e-scooters, not to mention autonomous vehicles, the risk to road users continues to be a challenge for us in the industry and the wider community. As we know, our current way of analysing risk is reactive, relying on historical data and reporting, and we need a proactive solution. There's got to be a smarter way to do things. So, can we predict crashes? I'm here to show you that with the Smart Safety platform, we've been able to identify and understand high-risk areas before injuries occur, to target investment, validate improvements, and save lives. I'm a transportation engineer at Urban Connection, and this challenge has been in our core since our inception 6 years ago. We specialise in traffic and transportation projects here in New Zealand, with a focus on safety and a keen interest on utilising technology to accelerate change. For a long time, we've been reacting to crashes and trying to fix the problem after the fact. We've wished there was a way to capture safety data and initiate countermeasures before people are hurt. So we saw the opportunity to partner with AMAG here in New Zealand, as we saw the ability for the Smart Safety platform to support these road safety and safe system goals across a range of areas, including design, traffic impact assessments, and wider transport planning. As Simon mentioned, to identify and analyse these high-risk areas and crashes before they happen, we're focusing on understanding those underlying conflicts. This is so important because these conflicts are so common. Think about how often someone crosses the centre line or cuts someone off, or you see late braking. They're not only lead indicators of high risk and movements in different areas, but also lots of data points can be gathered and then used to understand a site or network. People don't always respond the way we expect or have designed for, and conflicts will always occur. It's an imperfect system. But our focus in New Zealand is to try and respond to and being able to predict where we're likely to incur serious injury. As Kin showed us, the Smart Safety platform can be used on demand with a fixed camera to survey a site for a set period of time to better understand these high-risk areas and analyse conflict rates. We can then plot these conflicts using the heat map to clearly show the areas of risk and develop countermeasures and interventions based on the identified risk. In this example from Wellington, there were risks identified with the pedestrian crossing and turning movements out of the side road at the signalised intersection. We were able to identify and compare these risks before and after interventions were implemented. In this instance, we were able to understand the underlying conflicts and clearly show the effectiveness of signal timing upgrades and minor improvements at reducing the conflict rates at the intersection, reducing harm to vulnerable road users. This ability to streamline and optimize investment decision-making for network managers is invaluable, changing our focus from the lag indicators of crash history to the lead indicators of conflicts and near misses. We can have a strong evidence base with visual data like this to achieve buy-in from investors, stakeholders, politicians, and the community, which can often be the hardest part. We found this to be hugely beneficial to our partners throughout New Zealand. Using this Smart Safety platform can help us to understand and confirm high-risk areas without waiting for someone to get hurt, to optimise investment, and ultimately to save lives. I'll now hand over to Gemma Dioni from Christchurch City Council to talk about how they've applied the Smart Safety platform at some local sites here in Christchurch. Thank you.
Intersection. They never exited the other side. Instead, they were hit by a car travelling through the intersection. They suffered serious injuries. They probably weren't the first person riding their bicycle to work or to school or home to be seriously injured here, and they definitely weren't the last. In the 10 years from 2012, there were 10 crashes resulting in serious injury. 6 of the 10 involved people riding bicycles, and 4 involved people riding a motorcycle or scooter. There were a further 8 crashes involving a person riding a bicycle that resulted in minor injury. One serious crash is one too many. Kia ora koutou, ko Gemma Dioni toko ingoa. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to join you today to share how we have been using the smart surveys. I'm the Principal Advisor for Transportation Safety at Christchurch City Council. I'm a person who uses many different modes of transport to travel all around our network, and I want to be able to do so safely. I'm also a transport nerd that is curious about new ways of measuring data and using that for our storytelling. At Council, we want everyone in our community to get where they're going safely, regardless of how they are travelling. As an organisation, we have been on quite the journey over the past 2 years, making things way safer, way easier and way better by delivering safer infrastructure and safer speeds. Change needs to happen where there is the greatest need. So we have been speeding up our delivery to slow everyone down just that little bit at intersections and outside schools. Change is the only real constant. A lot of people don't take too kindly to it. Our brains are wired for comfort and certainty, and we are definitely creatures of habit. As a road controlling authority, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. Improving safety, particularly at our intersections to make them way safer, is certainly not the easiest space to work in. Trying to deliver things that people don't like, but are generally actually good for them, is a daily challenge. So today I will share 2 examples where we have used the SMART survey as part of our journey to make things way safer. The first example is where we use the SMART survey to provide data to understand our why around a project. And the second example is where we have used the SMART survey to provide a baseline before improvements began, so we can monitor performance post-construction. My first example is understanding our why. Our community engage with our transport network every day for different journeys. The term "everyone is a traffic engineer" has never been so true, particularly when it comes to safety. So when the proverbial likely hits the fan and you go head to head with politicians, the media, and some upset members of the community, you need that clear understanding of the why behind your project or the outcome that you are trying to achieve. As an engineer, we rely on Crash Analysis System, or CAS, data recorded by police. We use this as the only source of data to convince people that a small number of serious crashes really is an issue and that it is something that they need to care about. However, they drive through the intersection every day and have never seen a crash. We are currently consulting on an intersection in the west of our city. It's been the subject of quite a bit of social media discussion over the past year. In the 10-year period between 2013 and 2022, there were 83 reported crashes at or within the 50 metres of the intersection. Of those 83 crashes, 76 were a result of vehicles turning right from the side road and effectively being T-boned. Of the 76 crashes, 3 resulted in serious injury and 7 resulted in minor injury. On average, that's about 1 crash every 6 weeks. And those are just the reported crashes. There are possibly many more. So we undertook a week-long SMART survey in May 2024. The technology constantly observed and measured the interactions between users and identified potential collisions or near misses. The heat map in the middle shows the location and concentration of conflicts recorded over the week-long survey. It clearly shows that most conflicts occurred where the northbound right turn movement crosses the westbound movement, confirming the trends in crash data. Westbound speeds that we took from the SMART survey averaged around 42 kilometres an hour across a typical day. So this may explain that whilst there may be a high number of crashes for the right turn movement, the crashes that are occurring are not resulting in death or a greater number of serious injury crashes. This is because 50 kilometres is the safe system threshold for side impact crashes involving vehicles. Speeds above this are likely to result in a serious injury or death. Even within the remaining 66 non-injury crashes, Fire and Emergency New Zealand have attended due to significant damage to vehicles. Ambulances have also been dispatched to many of the crashes alongside police. The network effects for journey time delays for each of those crashes has yet to be measured. It's definitely safe to say that the local businesses adjacent to the intersection have helped in cleanups more often than not, and they are the most supportive advocates for change. For people walking, cycling or scooting, the westbound through speeds exceed the safe system threshold of 30 kilometres an hour. So should a crash occur, there is a high likelihood that the outcome will be a serious injury or fatality. One of the serious injuries did involve a person riding a bicycle. Having the data from the SMART survey has helped demonstrate that the risk of conflict remains within the current state of the intersection. And whilst numbers in CAS for serious crashes might appear low, it is dumb luck and more people could easily be involved in a crash at the intersection. Traditionally, DSIs, or death and serious injury crashes, are somewhat spatially random across the network, but in this case we know there is a clear movement that can be addressed. The data helped us understand our why, just that little bit more. One solution proposed by the Facebook commentators was that people should just be better drivers. If only it was that easy. On to my second example, collecting the data to provide confidence. It's always a treat to wake up to headlines, major Christchurch roundabout upgrade, an abomination, some road users say. It follows a notoriously dangerous Christchurch roundabout that has been upgraded, but now some road users are suggesting downgrade may be a better word for the work done. The Kashmir-Centuras intersection is a four-leg roundabout at the foot of the Port Hills in the southern suburbs of Ōtautahi. There are several major geometric issues. In addition, this roundabout is well used by people walking, biking, motorcycling, driving. This includes tamariki and rangatahi travelling to schools in the area. Having so many different people using this roundabout means that its classed as high risk. That means that using this roundabout carries a higher than usual risk when taking into account the likelihood and consequence of fatal or serious injury crashes. The solution, to the dismay of some of our submitters, was to improve on what was there to solve a safety issue, rather than providing the very expensive traffic lights. The central roundabout was increased in size through a new concrete apron. Safe speed platforms were added on 2 approaches and departures, with standard speed humps provided on 2 other approaches and departures to manage speeds of people entering and leaving the intersection, even when they're going uphill. The removal of the turn lanes to narrow the space on the approach, especially on Colombo Street, was to provide for people cycling to claim the lane, and sharrows were marked to highlight to people driving that people cycling are present here, and not just those roadies. Families, sometimes 3 to 4, on a single bicycle doing the school run have been observed at this location. So, sensing this project could be a bit like Marmite, they were either going to love it or going to hate it, we undertook a SMART survey to get a really good baseline around the existing safety before starting works. An interesting observation of this safety project: by slowing traffic down, there has been increased gap acceptance, so maybe we can be safe and efficient. That part does need to be tested a little bit more. For us, there were 2 key pieces of information that we could measure and track to see how the intersection is performing. The first were the speed violations through the intersection, and the second, the conflict count. Speed violations were high. Straight lining through the intersection was feasible on most approaches. Prior to the improvements, on the left, average speeds were provided by the SMART survey for the approach legs, which registered average speeds of around 42 km an hour for cars and utes, travelling through the circulatory carriageway. Given the high number of people riding bicycles and scooters or walking, we wanted the speeds to be below the safe system threshold of 30 km an hour. We know that from a quick check in TomTom, average speeds have reduced by up to 8 km through one approach alone. The conflict count was also high for people entering the intersection from adjacent approaches, and for people on bicycles. So after Christmas, we hope to undertake the survey again to see what is occurring. We have a resolution to provide a full year analysis, where we will also be able to provide a full year of crash data. But following the more recent press coverage, I think we will also be providing an interim 6-month update and maybe share that story with our wider community. So, in summary, we've used the data from the SMART surveys to provide evidence to give confidence to our communities and politicians that we're making things way safer, way easier, and way better. So my challenge to you: remain curious. Try new sources of information to round out and demonstrate the why, or test those before and after scenarios and see what outcomes you're achieving, and then share those good news stories. While the narrative around safety might be slightly different at the minute, embrace the data and the evidence and channel all that goodness into getting good outcomes for our transport users. Kia ora. Back to Simon.
Thank you very much, Gemma, and thank you to all of our speakers. Some great presentations there. It's fantastic to visualize and learn more about these deployments, which are clearly enabling you to move from those kind of lag indicators to the lead indicators, i.e. we no longer have to wait for the crashes and injuries or worse, deaths to occur before we can make some informed evidence-based decisions around our traffic planning and safety measures. So we do have a number of questions in the Q&A, so I'll jump straight to those. We have our first question is from Andrew Thakurdis, and it's a question for Kim Khan. His question is the funding for your safety and smart operations one-off or ongoing for these intersections that you've explored today?
Thanks. The funding is one-off because at the moment, Council is currently reviewing the feedback for the initial implementation. Further expansion will depend on the outcome of the evaluation and the funding source. Yeah, I hope that answers the questions. Yeah.
Great, thanks very much. Moving quickly along to the next one, Tim Muller from Resolve Group, asking how much data or sampling time is required to build a reliable model, i.e. the heat maps, to perhaps support a proposed intervention. I guess that's a tricky question to answer. Perhaps Kim or Gemma, would you like to answer that one? How much time did you need to gather data before you felt you were in a position to make decisions?
I'll answer a little bit first, and then maybe Jack can answer later. Yeah, sure. We actually capture for the smart safety system, we capture a good quality data for at least 10 days to show a reliable data. We actually capture the data during different time period, not just in the same month. We split it into a different month to capture all these data using the temporary camera. But the deployment of the smart safety is straightforward. Any traffic survey company which got the camera can able to do that.
Yeah, we've found similar things. So in New Zealand, the surveys that we've done for the smart platform have typically been a week to 10 days, but the camera we use can extend out to longer than that, 2 weeks kind of thing. So we found that a week is generally enough data to for the the analytics to give some meaningful outputs.
That's great. Yeah, I guess you can do it as long as short as you like, but a week is a pretty quick turnaround to get some good insights. Yeah, and as Ken said, like site by site basis as well. So we're looking at where is it rural, is it urban, like winter, summer, holidays, that kind of thing all comes into it as well. So we're trying to look at the sites on a case by case basis and addressing the constraints, I guess, of each site as well. Yeah. Yeah, tricky one to answer, but thank you for that. Okay, I'll move on to the next question we've got from Ryan Wilson from Foodstuffs. And he would like to know, this is a question for the panel, so put your hand up if you'd like to answer this one. Do you think the technology that we're seeing here could be applicable to solve not only safety issues, but also congestion signaling or avoidance? I guess he's looking for alternatives to Google Maps, specifically in his question there. Has anybody been using it for that purpose already, or is it something that you're looking at? Perhaps Simon Washington, if you've got ideas on that. I think Simon and Ken probably be best placed to comment on that operations platform.
Sure, it's a great question. So the operations product, which is continuous monitoring, is more suited and geared for those congestion-related questions. What I will say is the technology generally is not at the point, and this is not just for us, but I think globally, is not really at the point where we can track individual users through different camera locations. I mean, it's possible to do that through license plate recognition, but most companies in the space are not doing LPR. So travel time estimation is a bit challenging at this stage. But what can be done and is being done with some of our customers is just measuring congestion levels. So measuring level of service through the cameras, through occupancy, density, and average speed calculations, and monitoring that, sending alerts, for example, when congestion gets unusually large or high. And so through speeds and density, we can calculate that and track that quite well.
Yep, I can add on to that as well. It certainly can be done, but because AMAG smart operation is a separate system to, in general, any traffic signal system, there's a certain IT requirement need to be considered before incorporating into the government infrastructure.
Okay, so that's when you're interfacing different systems and taking different data sources. Excellent, thank you for that. We do have more questions, which is great to see. Really engaged audience. Well done again, speakers. From Michael Town here. He's talking, I guess, about the costs and I guess the number of risky intersections. You'd love to roll this out on every single intersection. How did the various councils determine which intersections to test on? Gemma?
I can take that one. Yes. So our programs are generally developed, especially over the past year or two, with Whakokatahi through the pipeline development tool, and we also use Kiwi Wrap. So we, I guess for us, it's looking at the highest risk intersections within that list, and I think it just depends on the kind of outcomes or solutions that we're looking at, and if it's slightly bolder than what we've tried before, then having this extra data has really helped kind of with that storytelling. So we've used it more, not reactively, but to kind of help justify some of the things that we've been doing rather than using it to identify risk across the network. So yeah, we've just tried it on these two intersections, and it's really helped us understand what's going on more so than predicting across, like I say, across the network. Ken might use it differently.
Now we're using similar for similar reason. It's simply we choose those locations because we couldn't see a clear trend in crash data in those locations. That's why we want to identify any specific driver behavior issues or pedestrian issue in those locations, which is pretty helpful because it's not showing up in the crash data, because the AMAG is a leading indicator, so which is really helpful for the analysis.
That's great. Can I put both of you on the spot and say, how are you going internally? What's the response been internally to the findings that you're getting from these two trials?
The finding is good, especially like I mentioned before, the e-scooter issues, which we currently collaborating with Department of Transport and Main Roads and trying to come up with some treatment and solution. But this discussion is ongoing. As you can see, it's a big topic here around the world.
Yeah, great. We do have another question here, so I'll move on to that. Once the conflict data is collected, this is Chen Yang has asked this question. Once the conflict data is collected from an intersection, what methods are used to predict crash rates based on this conflict data? We have a volunteer to take that one on.
I might take a stab at that.
Thank you.
So we've got two different methods that we use to do that, and the one most straightforward method, or I guess more common method is to collect crash history information from the location, and we build models for the customers and insert those models into the platform. So those models translate essentially the rate of conflict to observed crashes at those locations, and so we build models that are able to then use the conflicts to do predictive analytics for crashes. The other method, which is more advanced, is and has been published a lot in the most recent literature in the research, is using extreme value models to build these, and they don't rely on crash data to predict crashes, to build crash models. And so we're implementing those now, which will alleviate the pressure on the customers to deliver crash data for us, and it's a more efficient way to deliver it, and it's proving to be very reliable predictor of crashes. I can talk about that more in detail, but in general, those are the two approaches we use.
That's great, Simon. Thank you very much for the answer. Moving along, this is a question from Hassan. Have any of the projects looked into minimizing crash risk through video analytics along with optimizing traffic signal timings? I wonder if he's meaning real time. There. Yeah. Is that something that you've been looking at?
So another great question. So we've got several trial projects, not in actually they're based in Canada and one in the United States, where we are looking at taking using edge computing. So we're deploying the continuous analytics in an edge device, and we're doing a two-way communication with traffic control. And so the use cases there, there's several, actually 5 that we're implementing, but I'll just describe one. So what we're able to do is detect, say, pedestrians waiting in a refuge area to cross an intersection. We're able to detect the presence of the pedestrians and also how many there are. So we can serve up the appropriate walk cycle for that pedestrian load, and not provide a walk indication if there are no pedestrians. And so it's both a safety measure and an efficiency measure, because we're not delivering walk indications when they're not necessary. And so the appeal for that customer is both an efficiency and safety KPI achievement, and all of the measures we're looking at have both safety and efficiency implications, especially at signalized intersections.
Thanks very much, Simon. Just waiting for any more questions to come in. I've got one of my own here. I guess we've got a number of people here who will be keen to explore similar deployments. So are there any lessons learned or any challenges or advice on how to implement your own deployments maybe Ken or Gemma, would you like to ask what your experiences were, or maybe Jacques, if you're keen to answer that question?
Yeah, I'll answer first. The key learning from the whole project is before you plan to install the camera, make sure you look at the location and make sure you capture all the angle you want. Sometimes if there's a certain angle, that could be a blind spot that you might not be able to capture the data that you want. That's my learning, from this project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, similarly, we've found most of it is understanding your site and your constraints, and what you're actually after. What the problems are. So understanding the site already, and then like Ken said, getting those angles, and you can actually use multiple cameras if you have a large footprint. So we've found both, like I said before, like the time of year and temperature and that kind of thing affects the sort of practicalities of the camera itself, but also just understanding the intersection and what you're after and its constraints.
Fantastic. Thanks. So I think we can start to wrap it up here. I just want to say, first of all, congratulations, I guess, to both the city councils for for let's say taking the leap and adopting these new solutions, because it's great for everybody else to be able to learn from your deployments and the outcomes that you're getting. And let's face it, if we can reduce having to wait for crashes and accidents to happen, then we're already winning. So well done to you guys, and obviously well done to AMAG and Urban Connection for coming up with the solutions and putting all the time and effort into developing them. I do have one quick addition I'd like to make. I think Shannon, if you're available, we can bring you in. You've got a quick promotional message for everybody. Take it away. Do we have Shannon?
Yeah, I'm not sure she's actually available on this. Yeah, she says she can't speak, but yeah, I'll talk to this. So we're running a bit of a promotional opportunity for it's called the Smart Safety Challenge. So we have the chance for councils and road controlling authorities to submit a site that you'd like a smart safety survey done. So head over to our website, or we'll link the details for that, but there's still some time left on that. So basically yeah, a smart safety challenge for you guys to put forward some sites that you think will be a good opportunity to have this new technology undertaken at.
Great. And I think Shannon's just put the link in the chat there for everybody to go and find that. Okay. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. And I hope you, like I did, learned a lot from today's presentations. So once again, a round of applause, virtual round of applause for our speakers. Thank you for your time sharing the outcomes of these particular deployments and some background on the technology itself. Really great to be able to have all of you with us today. And as I said before, we'll be providing the recording of the slides in the next couple of days. And if you'd like to find out anything more, you can visit the website, where we still have bios and information on our speakers who have joined us today, and obviously on ITS New Zealand as well. You can find out about upcoming events coming up. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.